Welcome to the Simple Marketing Solutions podcast, the ultimate destination for small service-based business owners looking for help and inspiration with their digital marketing efforts. Our podcast is tailored to provide actionable solutions and ideas for simplifying and automating the marketing process. Whether you're a business owner looking to streamline your marketing strategies or in need of inspiration to take your business to the next level, we've got you covered. Join us as we explore the latest trends and techniques in digital marketing and share tips and tricks to help you grow your business. So tune in and get ready to elevate your marketing game with our process-driven, automation-focused and simplified business model approach. Hello, Hunter. Welcome to the Simple Marketing Solutions podcast. It is so great to have you here. I've been excited to have you on the show since you contacted me, and it feels like it's been a while now.
It has been.
You know, your topic about branding really got to me, and I was hooked from then. But before we jump into all the branding and all the good stuff, how about we get to hear a bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Hunter Myers. I am the founding creative director at Verger Design Co., which is a branding and design studio currently based out of Chicago, though I do move around a lot, so we'll see where I end up. But yeah, we work with minority businesses who are kind of really big dreamers. We're talking action takers, people who are ready to take that business to the next level, but maybe need the help and the guidance to really get their brand there. So they've got the idea. Now they need to look the part. And so that's what we help them do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's really great that you're supporting those minority business owners as well, because, you know, they need the support. And sometimes it's hard to tap into that in today's world. So well done on being able to do that for them. I'm sure that they see the value with what you do and the service that you provide to them. On the topic of building a brand, you know, what have you found in your experience to be the most important thing?
Yes. So obviously, your brand is your business's personality. And so a lot of the time people will focus on themselves when building the brand. But in my experience, the most important part of building your brand is actually understanding your audience and who your buyer is. Because the whole purpose of your brand is actually to attract that person to your business and get them comfortable enough to buy from you. So yes, you want your brand to encompass your business personality. You want it to encompass who you are. You want to love your brand, but you really, really, really want to make your ideal customers or ideal clients love your brand. And so making them kind of front and center is the best way to build a strong and strategic brand that'll actually drive those results instead of just look really pretty.
Yeah, look, I get it. You know, I've often had clients where they'll say to me, oh, but I want, you know, I want these colors and I want this font because I love it. I've been hooked on it for years. And now that I've got my business, I want this to be here. But sometimes it doesn't speak to the audience that you're trying to capture. And, you know, it's having that frank, open conversation with them when that comes up. But, you know, on that topic of branding and connecting with your audience, and in the podcast, we've been talking a lot about this recently in terms of connecting in with your ideal client. But I'd love to hear your perspective of how you go about helping your clients identify, first of all, who they want to work with and understanding the details about that ideal client, from the problems, what they're looking for, and how the branding fits into that.
Yeah, excellent question. So when trying to figure out who your ideal audience is or ideal clients are, I always encourage people to think about, who do you like working with. And when you're starting out, I'm going to be super honest with you, you're not going to know. You're not going to know who your ideal clients are. You're not going to know who your ideal customers are. I always tell people that entrepreneurship is like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like you're just looking to see what sticks. And that's going to be probably your first 1 to 2 years in business. And after you've worked with a handful of clients and are figuring out, okay, what do I like doing? What do I not like doing? What I encourage clients to do is look at those customers or those clients that they really, really, really liked working with.
Mm.
What do those people have in common? And not just demographics, but what do their behaviors have in common? Because when you're thinking about your buyer, it's so much more than just like, I work with women entrepreneurs who have, X amount of money. Like they're a human, they're a whole human, and humans buy based on emotion. And so these demographics aren't going to tell you the emotions that that human is feeling. And so I really encourage my clients to view their customers like a romantic partner. Really dive in and figure out who this is. Like if you're going on a date, what kind of questions are you asking? You're not just asking them, what's your job and how much money do you make? You're asking them things to really get to know their personality. What motivates them? What do they care about? What are they scared of? Because that's a really big one. A lot of people will purchase from fear. And so really thinking about these different elements that make up this person is going to help guide you through not just your business, but also that branding process. Because once okay, let's say that someone is motivated by X, Y, and Z. Now, how can I implement things in my business and in my brand that feed that motivation? Same with fear. So I've worked with a like kind of an intuition coach. And the big thing, and she's big into forgiveness. And something that wound up happening was a lot of her clients, she realized they needed to be comfortable before they're willing to open up and accept the help. And so to do that, what do? Well, let's look at colors. Let's look at colors that will help people feel comfortable. What are some soft colors, perhaps, or some neutrals that really help break down some of those barriers? Like you can't come in here with a hot pink and like neon green and expect that to take people's walls down. And so really thinking about how these elements of a brand, like the psychology behind colors, the psychology behind fonts, can help get your ideal client from point A to whatever point they need to be at to purchase from you, and then move on through to where they're referring people to you, they're coming back to you over and over again, really building out that entire journey, making sure that it is branded and making sure that it speaks to those people. I tell people it's the happy marriage between your business and these buyers. And to do that, you have to go through this dating process.
I love the analogy of the dating process. And when you think about it, it makes sense. It really does, because, when you're trying to date somebody, you're trying to connect with them and build something long-term, and you're trying to really get to know them at such an intimate level. And the same does go for business, right? Those customers that you're trying to attract into your world, you're wanting to build a longer term relationship with them. You want that loyalty. And like you just mentioned, having them share the word, spread the word out there, tell their friends, their family, other people that they come into contact with in their network to come to you because you're the best and they love what you offer.
Exactly. And you understand them.
Yes.
Which is huge. Make sure that your buyers know that you understand who they are. If they don't feel understood at this point in, the business realm, there are a ton of other people that they could go to and choose besides you. And I'm not saying that, markets are oversaturated or anything. My point being, if you don't take the time to understand and connect with those buyers, why should they take the time to work with your business? And so really, really think about that.
Yeah, no, that's such a valid point. I think that we do forget that. We forget how important it is, and that it really does deserve the time and the energy to get this right. Hunter, something that you said earlier where, if you're starting off in business, this might not be that ideal client, might not be it will be the spaghetti on the wall, right? Of just working with that person that you really love working with. But as you progress, as you grow in your business, that transitions and changes, and that ideal client changes as well. Um, do you find that from a branding perspective, as businesses grow and develop over the years, that they need to come back and do this groundwork with their ideal clients on a regular basis?
Absolutely. And I feel like, especially in the beginning, like I said, we're just guessing in
Yeah.
the beginning. And so I oftentimes will tell people, if you can and want to DIY your branding for that first 1 to 2 years, do so.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea to reach out to a brand strategist and invest a ton of money early on if you don't know who that audience is. So once you get past that point, let's say you hit that 2 year mark, you've got some people under your belt, you know the direction that you're headed, then's a good time to speak with a brand strategist. And if they're doing their job correctly, they're going to talk to you not about your business today, but about your business 5 years from now, 10
Mm,
years from now.
mm.
What do you want to be building, and how can we make a brand that's built for that? Because a business is constantly growing.
Yes.
It really is like a baby. You've got baby, toddler, you're just moving on up. Soon you'll get teenager. Soon you're going to want to kick them out of the house, but then you're like, just kidding, come back, I miss you. That's just the way that it goes. And so looking at your business as a growing thing and projecting ahead of time will help you not have to constantly come back and reevaluate your audience. Now, having said that, it is very, very smart to continue to get feedback from your audience, continue to listen to your audience, do market research on a regular basis, because their wants and needs might change. And also, your audience is growing as
Mm.
well. So the people that you are serving are also growing, especially if you're building these long-term relationships. So what you may have helped someone with in the beginning that got them to purchase from you may not be what they need help with down the line. So how can you serve them there? Now, market
Yes.
research is absolutely the best way to do this. Get on the phone and talk with your past clients and just ask,
Yeah.
why did you work with me? What were you needing help with? What do you need help with now? Do you feel like I'm still serving you? If not, how can I? And don't be afraid to ask the scary questions.
Yeah.
What did I not do so well? What can I improve? Was there anything about this process that you didn't like? Because while sometimes it's, hard for the ego to take that kind of feedback, it will improve your business and your brand and your process for future clients coming in.
Yeah. That's a very valid point. I've often had people come to me and say, when I say that we need to do the market research, they'll tell me, oh, Amita, I'm scared. I'm scared to go and have those conversations. I feel like I'm invading their space and they're taking their time. Why would they want to talk to me? And, I always say to them that your clients love you and they've loved the experience that you've given them. They would be more than happy to spend a few minutes if they know that it's going to help you help them in the future as well, and help you help others just like them, because they've been there, they know what that feels like. So, why wouldn't they? And it's only a few questions that you need to ask. Um, and you can only ask. If they say no, fine, that's fine. You can work with that. But there is so much value that you gain from that market research. I know I harp on about it all the time to my clients of how important it is, and help them to try and just get past the fear of putting themselves out there. I think that, when we're in business, that's something that we fear of, putting ourselves out there in the respect of maybe being judged.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think also, especially women entrepreneurs, I think we're afraid of asking for that help.
Yeah.
We're afraid that that help won't necessarily be given, or that we are a burden for asking for
Mm,
the help.
yeah.
And I have found in the market research that I have done as well, that the clients that I asked questions to also gained clarity through the market
Mm,
research. And
mm,
so, while it may seem like, oh, well, I'm just asking for their time or they're giving it to me, and maybe I don't deserve it, they are also going to gain something from the experience. And if you are concerned about it, you can always trade like a $5 gift card
yeah.
for the market research as well. Like if that'll make you feel better, that is absolutely a possibility. And then you've got a tax write-off as well.
Exactly. Yeah, there are great ways of being able to do that, that don't feel like you're just taking from them, if that's what's in your head, and overcoming that thought that you are being a burden or you're being intrusive. And you're right. It definitely is a trend with female entrepreneurs. I think we just sometimes get in our own way
Oh,
unnecessarily
yeah.
and overthink things way too much. um,
Absolutely.
and
That's me.
yeah, well, me too. Absolutely. My hands up for sure. Um, and we've been talking about ideal clients. We've been talking about the importance of getting your branding right after, you've put yourself out there for the first couple of years, and being able to then use that as a foundation to project for the future for your business growth. Where where do we go from that in your experience? Like, what's the next step that people need to be taking in their journey with branding?
Yeah, I feel like I said, especially if you've been DIYing it, once you hit that 2 to 3 year mark, it is absolutely time to contact a brand strategist and a professional designer. And we're not just talking logos. I think oftentimes a big misconception is,
Mm,
oh, well, I'll just hire someone to make a logo for me. Your logo, I tell people, is just like a piece of pepperoni. Like your brand is an entire pizza
yeah.
and you want the whole pizza. You don't just want the piece of pepperoni because the whole pizza is actually what makes the meal.
Mm,
That's what makes the marketing work. It's what makes the business work. And so by working with a brand strategist, what that allows you to do is kind of like what we talked about, where you take into consideration who that audience is. You make sure that everything is in alignment and you walk away with a completed brand as well. You know who, what your voice is,
mm,
what your values are. So humans, as I talked about, that's who we're selling to.
yeah.
They connect with brands. That's what a lot of buyers are doing now, because there are so many options and so many places that they could buy a very similar product or service. The brand is what they connect to. And so values are important. Do you value the same thing as your customers? Then we talked about the colors and the fonts and how that is kind of a subconscious way to influence your buyers. And after you do that, so after you've built it with a brand strategist, then it's time to start implementing. And the big thing that I tell people is you need to implement your brand. It needs to be consistent. And when I say consistent, I don't mean frequency. So I think a lot of people
Yes.
kind of roll their eyes or get really anxious when they hear the word consistent, because they think I'm, telling people you need to be on social media X number of days, same time every day, so on and so forth. I am a neurodivergent entrepreneur. Schedule like that just does not fly with me.
Yeah.
But consistent in the way that you look is
Mm,
what's going to help build that trust with your clients, and consistent across multiple platforms. So a lot of people are buying online right now, which means if I find you through a social media, platform, and I go to your website, does your business look the same? Is it the same business that I'm working with? Because if not, immediately you're losing some of that trust from the client. And so consistently implementing that brand across your different platforms and throughout that buyer journey. So we talked about how you've got that
mm,
whole dating phase. Your
yeah.
buyer is going to have different phases that they need to go through in order to purchase from you, but then also come back down the line. Are each of these pieces branded as well? And your brand strategist and designer will help you do that. But
Mm,
that is the step and the kind of direction to take once you hit that 2 to 3 year mark. And then from there, like we talked about, the constant market research, there's
yeah.
always time for a refresh as well. If your business is pivoting, talk to your
Mm,
strategist and designer and see, do we need to be shifting anything? Do we feel like we're still serving the same audience? If not, what changes can we make that won't necessarily jolt the audience that we currently have, but will still serve what we're trying to do.
Mm, mm. No, that's really important to hear. Thank you. Thank you for, sharing all of that, because I think we as business owners, we need to hear that. We need to hear what it is we need to actually be doing and taking action on right now, um, depending on the stage of business we're at, and know that it is an evolutionary process, and that it's not that you just
Mm-hmm.
do it once and it's done and set and forget, that you do need to come back and revisit this as, like you said, if your business is pivoting or you're wanting to introduce something new, then does that mean that the audience changes, or their pain points change, et cetera, et cetera? So yeah, that's
Yeah. And
valid.
well, I think it's really important to mention too, that it is okay for these shifts to happen.
Mm,
Like I am a brand designer myself, and I am on the third iteration of branding my business.
yeah.
The first one, I didn't know who I was serving. The second one, I was like, okay, I'm now trying to build a business that I think I'm supposed to be building versus a business that I actually want to be building. And now we're in this phase of actually coming into what this business is supposed to look like. And that took, like I said, guys, it took years
Yeah.
to figure out this is a process. And so if a professional brand designer can admit that she had to go back and rebrand and do something differently, I promise you that means that you can do the same thing.
Oh no, that's really appreciated to hear that honesty. Because like we were saying before we jumped onto the podcast, that um we we've got this thought in our head that we need to have it all figured out, and that as soon as we open our business, it's just going to be flooded with clients, and we'll be making these millions of dollars in the first few months or first year, like they say on all these Instagram posts that we see these days, and Facebook posts, etc. I made 100,000 in my sleep. Like, really? How many years have
Right.
you been in business to get to that stage, right? What
Thank
have you
you.
done? We people don't talk enough about that, and I think we've got a little bit of time that we can just touch on that, because I think it ties in with what we've been talking about when we're looking at business from progressing year by year and realizing where you're at, and the importance of being able to see where you want to be in the future, but realizing also that the reality is that it's not necessarily going to be that you're going to earn, $1 million. You're going to make that six-figure business in the first year. And that's okay, right?
Yes, exactly. I feel like, oh my gosh, I oftentimes say that it's the social media Kool-Aid that they're kind of trying to serve to everybody. And I'm like,
Yeah,
wait a second, this isn't organic, which is what they're claiming it is. Everyone take a step back and look at what we're actually consuming
exactly.
here. And
Mm,
I think it's kind of sad. I think it's sad.
mm,
I think it discourages a
mm,
lot of people. I know that I myself have gone through a number of bouts where I have asked myself, like, am I even cut out for this? I'm looking, and all these other people are having this success and they all seem to be doing it. Does that mean that I'm doing something wrong? And it's not. It's not, because the other thing to consider too is whatever your feed is. So whatever you're viewing is what, a
mm.
small sprinkle compared to the actual number of entrepreneurs that are out there. What, like, you're hearing the people who are shouting the loudest.
Yeah.
Well, start asking people who maybe aren't shouting as loud, or start shouting yourself. What's your experience like?
Yeah.
Is it this same one? No, guess what? That's okay. Someone else is having your exact same experience. Share it so that they're not scared, so that they're not wanting to give up. I think we're going to soon see a pretty big shift in the way that entrepreneurship is talked about online. I'm
Mm,
hoping that we start to see that, because I think it's unfair. I
mm.
think it's unfair that, again, the people who are now the loudest in the room are feeding something that's not quite true, that all of us are buying into, especially, oh my gosh, especially younger entrepreneurs. The
Yeah.
amount of money that I wasted early on in the business, chasing after these seemingly false claims was sad, and I want other businesses, especially early businesses where you don't necessarily have the cash flow, you're probably running on your own savings, to know that it is okay if you are not hitting those milestones that you see everyone else hitting. Set
Yeah.
your own goals, set your own milestones. Your journey is your own journey.
Mm.
It's going to be different from my journey. It's going to be different from your neighbor's journey. So try not to compare your goalpost to someone else's, especially someone else who really has likely been doing this for years and years and years and just aren't mentioning it. I think,
Exactly.
like Lizzo, I believe, if I remember correctly, she seemed to be this big overnight success. Like she just came onto the scene and it was wild. But she talked about in an interview how she spent years and years and years doing really small gigs, pitching, trying to get in front of people. And you have to remember that, like, there is so much work and additional resources that go into people's success that isn't necessarily being talked about. And so don't let that discourage you if you've not reached that point yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing all of that up and clarifying that, because we do need to hear that. And we also need to realize that those people that have been in business for all those years, they're not doing it themselves. They're not a solopreneur. They've got massive teams behind them, and they have the capital now to be able to put and fund their business to, be doing a heap of paid advertising and
Mm-hmm.
all of this type of stuff to reach more people. But yeah, from the start, it definitely wasn't that. And you're right, it can feel quite discouraging when that's all you start to see in your social media feed or online. But like you said, it's important to just realize that this is your journey, and you're in the driver's seat, and you make it what you want it to be.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
Hunter, I think that um it's so great that you shared your story about what it's been like, and that you've had three big shifts with your business over the years as well. We it's a work in progress. So I think that we just need to remind everybody of that. But before we do go, Hunter, I wanted to let you have the opportunity to share this really great resource that you put together. I had a quick look at it and it sounds amazing. Did you want to share what it is and who it's for and how they can use it?
Absolutely. So I've developed a mini course on how to date your customers. So like I said, I talked about this happy marriage between your business and your customers. And you had asked, well, how do I figure out, who I want to be working with? How do I figure out these ideal clients so that I can brand to them? This course is the way to do it. It is 9 chapters. It's completely free. They're short and digestible as well. Like I said, my attention span is not necessarily the best. And so I
Yeah.
try to build for people like me where you get the content quickly. There's a workbook that goes along with it as well that'll help guide you through. It's got additional information and questions to really help you build out your buyer personas, which I call your buyer dating profiles. That way you can give that to a brand designer, you can give that to a regular designer to help guide them through the building process for your brand and business. You can access that by going to either the link that will be shared or my Instagram at Verger. So that's V as in Victor, ER, D as in dog, URE Design Co. And that's on Instagram. Give me a follow. The link in my bio will take you right to it as well.
Perfect.
Let's
I will
connect.
definitely put all the links there because I would love everybody to connect with you and um, continue to follow your journey as well. It seems like there's some exciting stuff happening in the future, so I'm going to be looking out for that. But thank you so much for your time today. Before we go, was there any last piece of advice that you wanted to share with our audience?
Absolutely. I would say, again, remember that this is your journey. It is your journey. You are here to take it yourself. Listen to your gut. And then when I say your gut, I'm not talking about that fear. That's not what I'm saying. Listen to your intuition. It is going to guide you where you are wanting to go. Don't compare yourself to everybody else. You've got this. You started this business for a reason. Follow through with the business for a reason.
Yeah, perfect. I love that. It's a great note to end on. So thank you. Thank you again, Hunter. It's been such a beautiful, open conversation today and filled with very useful tips for our audience. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening today. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I hope you find value from today's episode. And remember, if you've got friends and colleagues looking for inspiration as they grow their business, share this podcast with them. Follow me on Instagram at Holistic Vision Consultancy or check out my website, holisticvision.com.au. Until next week, to your success, my friend.